Hey everyone, FRATER Super Rabo here again, and welcome back to the Magic Armory, the place to be to arm yourself and add to your spiritual arsenal. And of course, we are still the one and only original home of Common Sense Occultism. And I thank you for joining me today. Really quick, it's a new episode, so you know we got to do this. If you are new and you haven't already done so, please look below, find that big red button that says subscribe, and hit that for me right now. Then look to the right or somewhere in that area. You're going to see a bell. You want to make sure you hit that bell as well. That way you're notified each and every time we upload new content to this channel, and you can watch it as soon as humanly possible. And of course, last but definitely not least, please remember to like and share this and all videos. Helps us out a whole lot and goes a long way to doing so. So for that, I will thank you. Thank you. Hey guys, welcome back. Really excited. Really excited about today's video. I've been wanting to do this for a while now, and as you can see in the title, we are continuing with the magical weapons, implements, tools, thingamabobs, whatever you want to call it, that series. That's what we're doing today, continuing on with that. And today we're going to talk about one of the most important, if not the most important, magical implements, or you could even say religious or spiritual implements, because this object transcends all traditions, and that is the altar. The magical altar is what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right into it, shall we? Like I said, this object, this implement, this tool, it transcends all traditions. No matter what you are a part of, what tradition or religion or spiritual philosophy that you ascribe to or find yourself a part of, I really can't think of one where you don't have a altar of some sort. Now, of course, there's various different types of altars. You can see things that are, you know, these grandiose, wonderful, huge shrine-like things. And it could also be something as simple as a table or a small stone or a platform of sorts. And we're going to talk about all that and, you know, various different things and maybe some options in this video, and as well as I want to give you some examples. So yeah, let's just get into let's go with that right now. What I want to accomplish with this video is to give a general overview of the purpose, at least in my opinion, and the what I believe to be the general consensus of what an altar is used for in a spiritual or magical tradition, and also provide various examples of what you may want to do when choosing to set up said altar if you don't have one, or what you might look to doing that you haven't thought of yet, what you might want to think about when building altars or shrines in the future. What else? Oh yeah, said that. What I'm going to do is also provide some brief examples by showing some of my altar regalia. So just a quick side note on that. People get, you know, they get a little, you know, stuffed shirt about altars sometimes, and it's understandable. So some people as a rule, do not showcase their altars. It's a very personal thing, and I do not fault anyone who makes that choice to say, "Oh, well, I don't show my altars or religious shrines. That's personal. I don't do that." Me, I'm kind of on the fence with it. Now, as you can see, you obviously know that I'm okay with it on some level. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this video and saying, oh, well, I will show some of the stuff on my altar. But here's what I will recommend for anyone who's thinking of, and just the way I see it. So if you're thinking of, posting pictures online, because we live in a different age now, where, if you read older Magic text, they'll say keep in silence, and people will take that to mean like you do not show the work, you don't show what you're doing, and people will take that a step further and say, well, that means don't show your altar, because the altar is a part of your work. um, how I see it is this: uh, for an educational tool, especially someone who is in the realm of teaching, someone that's supposed to be a teacher or an instructor, I think, especially this day and age, it's okay to show things. It's, you're teaching in the time and age, and this is how people learn, by showing them things. It's much easier to see something than it is to just simply describe it by words or read from paper without any type of picture. Um, so there's that. But where I will caution folks, and what I my general rule is, I will be very general about it. As you can see, just from the backdrop of my videos, you'll see a devotional shrine slash altar in the background. But what I will, so I'm not hiding that, and I'll tell you, uh, very generally what this may be for or what this means. But I won't go into very specific detail, and I won't go into any actual work that I'm doing. So, for example, just throwing it out there, this is not the case, but just for, for for laughs. If, well, not laughs, it's not funny, but anyway, um if I'm working on something, say I'm doing some sort of spell of sorts that's I don't know, a month-long thing, and I'm supposed to create an object and leave said object on my altar for till from the new moon to the full moon, and every night I'm supposed to chant something or do a ritual or blah 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 and empower this object that's on my altar. um I'm not going to say, hey guys, this is the little witch bottle thingy that I'm working on, that's in my altar, that I'm doing this, that I'm saying the chant for every night, and it sits here, and this is what it is. This is the exact thing I'm doing. Um, that's a bad idea. Uh, any current working that you're presently working on. Now, if you want to comment on something after you've done achieved, once it's done, it's finished, and you've achieved results, that's perfectly fine. But as a rule, for any of you that are planning on showcasing your altars, and what I do is, and what I'll be doing in this video, or what I will specifically not be doing, is I will not go into the specifics of items as they pertain to specific workings that may or may not be taking place at present. In fact, most stuff, I mean, you're not going to see anything that I'm working on right now. So if you do choose to showcase your altars, that's the advice that I would give. Don't put out or showcase anything that you're currently working on. Just like, I mean, it'd be the same thing as reading your magical diary, on a Facebook live stream or something like that. You just, about what you're currently doing. And it's just, not a good idea in my opinion. And I've seen things like this, so it's like, oh my goodness, what do you do? Why would you talk about that? But anyway, it's just, that's just my advice. It's my channel, dang it, so I'm gonna give my advice. uh yeah, so before I go off on a huge tangent, let's bring it back in, and let's talk about the altar. as I was saying before, you're going to be hard pressed to find a religious or spiritual tradition or a magical tradition that doesn't involve an altar. And if you comment below if you know of something that doesn't have some form of altar, because I would love to know about it. And please let's not get into the altar is my mind and blah blah blah, and my body is the temple that I know. Yes, we all know this. We know this. Everyone knows what I meant. I simply mean that in every tradition that I know of, there is some sort of a focal point of the worship or the work. So there we go. Anyway, so yeah, the altar is exactly what I said it is. This is a thing that's constructed. It can be very elaborate, or it can be small and simple. That is the focal point of the work. Now, different people will have different ways of and this of course depends on the tradition that you are a part of. But because there's no one way, the right way to set up an altar. So again, this video is not me explaining the correct way to set up an altar, because in Western magic, this is how we do it, and it must be done this way. So that's not what this video is. Anyway, but what I do want to do is kind of give some things to think about. What you might want to do, because people, especially beginners, if you're like, oh, what do I do, and you're looking for that. Well, I need this. I need to know that this is what you do. This is when you do it. Blah blah blah. And this goes here on the altar. This goes there. And what I want to do is just kind of give some of those guidelines. These aren't definitive things, but I'm going to give some guidelines, and hopefully it helps you guys out. So, and again, this will work for the adept and the advanced practitioner too, because we're always learning, and things are always changing, especially when it comes to something like this. I mean, like I said, I'm very excited about this video because an altar is something that can always be changing, and I literally just revamped my temple. So anything, if you guys are like, oh, well, we've seen your, some of your altars in the past, you're in for something a little bit different, because things change, and as with anything else, my tradition is no different than anything or anyone else's. This is a developmental thing. Things change, things advance, and you adapt to what to the direction that you're going in. So that I just find super cool. I think that's just awesome that to have that creative aspect to building your sacred space, literally building your sacred space. And this can be done, it doesn't have to be done indoors. Having an outdoor altar or setup, if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that, that is awesome. So talking about places, have an altar. This is one thing that I just, I can't hammer it home enough, that even if you don't have a entirely separate area that you can devote solely to magic or spiritual work, even if you don't have that, if you can, it's great, it's awesome. I can tell you from experience, it is just awesome to have. And I'm not trying to, rub it in or anything like that, but, if you can strive for that, and you'll just, you'll be like, wow, this is amazing. Because I didn't have that for a while, and now that I'm able to have that, it's just really, really cool. But even if you don't, you can still accomplish the same goals via a personal altar by making that your sacred space, your own personal space. If you can make it permanent, all the better. But of course, it will change and adapt with what's going on. Now, to get into a couple specifics, and again, a lot of this is my opinion, just gained from what I've done over the years. Now, in the very much in the golden dawny way, or the AA way, or the more modern type school of magic, you will see a kind of a standard model of an altar, where this is probably what you guys are expecting me to talk about, and it is in a way. Um, the double cube altar, this altar that is a working altar that stands in the middle of your space, or in the east. Some people in the Wiccan tradition will say it goes in the north. Um, that is one of the things I'm going to talk about today. Um, is where different types of altars, because as what I was trying to get to, is I believe that they fall into kind of two separate things. You have or at least what I do, is what I have is what I call my working altar, or which is going to be the altar in the center of the room, the double cube of the Golden Dawn. Um, this is the altar that you're going to place objects on. It's the elemental tools, or the magical tools in general. Any specific implements or spell work or whatever, any work done. All the work is going to be done on this thing, this center altar that's in the center of everything, the point, the focal point between the worlds. That's in the middle of the circle, the middle of the magic circle. So we're going to talk about that, and go into a little bit of setup with that. And then point number two is what I call devotional altars and or shrines. Now, if you can only have one altar, that's fine. But if you are very much involved in forms of spirit magic, or working with, or wanting to establish contact with specific deities or spirits or whatever, be it, the She or fairies, or uh, elemental beings, or a specific god or goddess, or or angels, or even in some cases, demons. Um, you may very well find it beneficial to set up a entire altar or shrine as a devotional spot for that being or those beings. Another thing, a devotional ancestral altar. I have one of those myself. I call it, and it doesn't have to necessarily be pictures or anything that has to do with directly with grandma and grandpa. When I say ancestral, I mean like very broad, your entire ancestry. And what I incorporate into that as well is saints and spiritual heroes, where you would have an altar that is dedicated to not only loved ones that have passed on to the field of reeds in the land of the West, but also those heroes that you've looked up to, that you feel spiritually connected to, that you may want to call upon, or that you can still seek guidance in the work they did when they were here on Earth, and you feel spiritually connected to them in that sort of way. Heroes, saints, we do this. We see this in, in Catholicism, in that branch of Christianity of, devotion to the saints. And this is something you can do as well in the form of a shrine or altar. So my point is I kind of break them up into two separate categories. You have the working altar is what you'll hear me use that term, the working altar, where the work is actually done, and it's usually the focal point of things. And then you have devotional altars, where you're going to, once you've put together, if you're doing an offering, say for example, once you've put together the the offering itself, said prayer, divided it up, placed it in a nice bowl, whatever, or lit the incense, or whatever, you would then you do the work on the working altar and then transport it to the actual shrine. And then that becomes the focal point as well. And you can kneel before the altar or do whatever, whatever you're called to do, whatever is a part of the work that you're doing for that working or that devotional practice or whatever. And if you watched any of my videos, I'm very, very big on devotional practices. And I think that spiritual devotion is very, very important. And this isn't me talking about, making, selling your soul or making contact in that stupid way of, oh, blah, blah, blah. You hear people mention pacts and they automatically, their mind goes to selling their soul for riches and, oh, he's got an altar to Satan and blah, blah, all that stupid crap. That's not what I'm talking about, and I encourage you to reference my videos on devotion. I did 2 of them. So, check those out for why I feel that devotion is, very, very important. Anyway, the altar. Like I said, guys, this is just, this is something you want to do. It's something that's going to change. If you're doing it right, if you're working correctly throughout your spiritual training and your magical career, as it were, it's going to change. You're going to add things. You're going to take away things. You're going to if not, you're not, you're probably not doing much because, and I don't mean that to, sound like a jerk. But if you're constantly working within a tradition, if you're doing devotional practices, if you're doing stuff, you're going to become more adept. You're going to establish relationships with spirits or with the holy guardian angel. I can't believe I didn't mention that. Altar to the holy daimon or the holy guardian angel. If you do the Abramelin working as per instructed, you will have a special altar set up in a certain way to accomplish that working. God, I'm losing it today, guys. Anyway, yeah, it's good. I'm wearing the angel's hat, and I didn't even mention the holy guardian angel altar. Jeez. Anyway, so forgive me for that. I'll slap me on the wrist for that one. Anyway, so yeah, there's all different types of things, and they're going to change over time. Now, I'm going to take a little break here. I'm trying to briefly think if there's anything else I want to talk about before I actually go into the center focal altar. And yeah, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to, through the magic of YouTube, I am going to stop the video here And then when you come back, you will not see this mug anymore. You're going to see an example of a center altarpiece for what I am referring to as the working altar. And we'll go into that a little bit more in detail. So hang tight, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So here we are in part 2 of the video on altars. And as promised, what I'm going to do now is kind of go over a little bit on altar setup and just a little bit more in detail about what I call the working altar, also referred to as the center altar, or sometimes the double cube altar in the Golden Dawny tradition. And then after that, we'll go into a little bit about what I call devotional altars or shrines. So, starting with the functional altar or the working altar. As you can see, the camera is pointed on a table of sorts, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to do my best to record with this stationary microphone as well as move the camera and look at the screen while I explain what I'm explaining to you. So please bear with me. So yeah, this is my little altar here that is in the center of the temple as best as it can be at the moment. I'm a little bit crowded because I got all this equipment at present, and it's making things a little bit crammed. So when I'm doing actual magic, I don't have all this other stuff going on, and it's a little bit easier to move around, and I don't have to worry about recording things. So again, just bear with me. So the functional altar is a altar that is generally placed in the center of your working area, and upon it, all the work is done. And when I say that, I mean whatever the ritual entails, or the working, or whatever you're doing, whether it be something like opening up sacred space and then creating and doing a tarot reading. You would lay your cards out on the working altar. If you're doing a candle spell, you would place the candle on the altar. If you're doing some sort of scrying work or evocation, in some cases, not all, but some cases, on the altar will be the device to which you scry into, whether it be a flame or a mirror or something. Now, again, before the naysayers come out and be like, no, you do it with the triangle of art, and blah, I'm well aware. I'm not spouting any crazy theories or anything like that. I'm just saying in some cases, a scrying device can be placed on a center altar, and you can evoke things into a center altar in some cases. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. But again, where all of the work is done essentially, and things that are good for this. Again, what's become very, very popular is this idea of the double cube altar, where you have two superimposed cubes of, a cube being an exact squared measurements, and one on top of the other, and of course one representing um, an upper world, and the other the lower world of Malkuth, and then in a greater or the two triangles coming together. A bunch of different symbology. And in a greater sense, the altar, what I like to look at it as, at least the one in the center, the working altar, the place where heaven and earth meet. This is where we focus, and do the work, the great work. We accomplish the work. We do our magic. Any type of, labor, if it involves cutting or um, mashing herbs or anything like that a lot of times is done right here in the center on the working altar. That's where I like to do it. A very important, indispensable, I would say, part of your sacred space. And in many cases, it might be your only part of your sacred space. If you are doubling a sacred space as a bedroom, like I did for a very long time. Sometimes your altar may be the only thing that is the spiritual setup in whatever room you can use. So for that very reason, or whatever reason, I think it's important to put your all into it, to put your all into, just like anything else. To strive for the best, to do your best, and make it important, make it good. Do the best you can do. And I don't mean to sound like a, a parent or anything. Like, do your best, Johnny. You gotta do your best. I don't, I don't mean to sound annoying like that, but, but seriously, guys, do your best. Put your all into this stuff, and you get out what you put in. I've said this time and time again. Altar is no different. Just like, any other magical tool or implement we've talked about up until this point. These are things, not just inanimate objects. These can be living cruxes of energy that are in many ways empowered by spirits or energies or whatever you choose, whatever term you choose to use or believe, or on many ways, depending on level of skill and what you choose to bring in. Um, but my point is that these things, it's important, guys. It's important to do your best and to when creating anything, to put your energy into it. And an altar is no different. It's no different than a wand or a cup or any of these other things. It's a tool that's indispensable. And all these other tools are going to be placed upon it. These other tools that we're talking about, at some point or another, most likely they're going to be on this space. This is your sacred space, the focal point of that sacred space. So again, this is going to be where you place if you're doing a talismanic working, your talisman to be consecrated is going to be placed upon this altar, where it is touched by and imbued with the power of the desired end that you choose to bestow upon it and invoke into it. So, why wouldn't you make it as beautiful and as sturdy of a foundation as you can do? I mean, if you're going to put all into your magical wand or staff or whatever that you made, why wouldn't you also give your all and make the space upon which that implement is empowered and consecrated, make that, put your all into that as well. So, just a little rant, little spiel on that. Go for the gold, guys. do your best when it comes to that. So a bit about practicality. Depending on the space that you're working with or in, you want You want the altar to fit in the space, is what I'm saying. You don't want to get this huge table, whether it's a cube or not. And I'm saying that the cube, first of all, let's address that. This does not have to be a cube. It does not have to be that. It is highly preferred in a lot of traditions, but it's not necessary, guys. Um, it is in many ways, and I'll speak from experience, it is in many ways the most practical. If it's going to be something placed in the center of the room, having a more squared type shape like you're seeing in front of you, um, and especially if it has interior storage space, that's great too. But it's not a necessary thing, and as well, I'm constantly mentioning placing it in the center of the room. Um, that's not always a must. I like to do it, but again, if you remember from before, what I'm saying is I have two different things going on here. I have what I call, and I'm a stickler for details. So, in many ways, I couldn't do it any other way than to have different things. But I have it's just my personality. I have a center working altar, and then I have various devotional altars or shrines that surround that working altar that make up my sacred space. So this is how I express my spirituality and my sacred space, and how I've been taught to build it up via various traditions and by the spirits. So um, without getting too much into that, this it's going to be a journey for you as well, and it's going to change. What you have on these things is going to change. But um, I digress. Anyway, my point is the cube is not necessary. If you choose to build your own altar, which I can attest to, there is value in that too. I built my first altar, but you want to, again, take into account the space. I did not do that. And it wasn't workable, and you guys see that altar. It's sitting right there, behind that Enochian tabletop. It's the one that's always behind me in all the videos. I made that. It's a very huge double cube altar with a storage space. It's hollowed out, and a storage space in the middle of it, and it's a bit tall. It's a bit tall for what it is. My mistake is I made it as I wanted it to be mobile because I was doubling space. I was doubling a temple with a bedroom, so I wanted it to be movable, and I put wheels on it. And the wheels made it that much taller, and I didn't account for it. So, again, just, uh, I'm not a carpentry expert or anything, but if you're building something, just like anything else, make sure you have the spatial dimensions worked out correctly, and go from there if you're going to build your altar. And it's a great thing to do. I recommend everyone do it at least once. Get a lot out of it. I'm always for building tools, and the altar is no different. If you don't, but it's not necessary either. As I've said before, it is better to have something rather than nothing. And if you only have the ability to get a fold-out TV tray from a box store that we will not mention the name of, because they get enough advertising and enough money. um, or anything like that, a little table, a little fold out rug or cloth that is, this is my altar, until you can get a foundational space, anything to work upon, and make it, empower it, and make it yours, make it your own, make it within that tradition that you're working in. If you're a solitary Golden Dawn magician, that is your Golden Dawn temple altar, dang it. And it's going to be the best one, and worked within the tradition to the best of your ability. Um, if you do have all the elemental weapons, this is where you're going to place them and consecrate them, and like I said, do all your spell work and everything. So you want it to be nice. This one it's a little beat up. That just comes with age, but it's I'm gonna attempt to move this again, guys. So bear with me, but it it does the job. I mean, this is just very practical for me. Like I said, if you'd like to, you can put a symbol. I don't have an altar cloth on this one because I like to have my what I call my altar stone showing. Um, but altar cloths are great to kind of cover up dings and dents that happen over the years and things of that nature. The setup I've gone with is just it's a traditional, just regular cabinet. You can see it does have a cabinet door there and a drawer where things can be stored. I'm not going to open that up. And then, as with anything else, I made it my own. That is a rose cross. There is another one on the other side. And I also have an Enochian tablet of union that I have affixed to the front uh, of the altar as well. So you can doll it up, make it up with, symbols of the tradition you're working within. And again, what altar cloths and things that you are setting upon your working altar are going to vary depending on the type of working that you're doing. So, but some pretty standards are one, any magical tools that you're using will be placed upon it. Two, uh, candles. As you can see here, I have two taper candles. These are actually not really candles. If you have any experience with the Catholic Church, you've seen these things. They're actually oil lamps, but they look like taper candles, and they're beautiful. And I've wanted them so bad, and I was like, gosh dang it, I'm gonna get some of these someday, and I did. So there they are. Really nice. But of course, I'm super fond of tapers, and I love these. So you don't have to have two. It depends. A lot of people like to have one black candle, one white candle to kind of represent those two pillars and opposing forces. Um, as you can see, mine are the same. But you can have one solitary candle that works too. It all depends on what you're doing. There's my hand. Hey guys. Yeah. Uh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, it all depends on what you're doing as to what you're going to place upon your altar. You heard me say the term altar stone, which is this right here. As you can see, this is removable, but this can be used as a tool as well, similar to a rose cross um, or a crux ansata that would be used in the Golden Dawn. Um, but I like to place that on the center there. The altar stone, this is marble. Um, Now, you don't have to go out and get an altar stone, but in various traditions, stone altars are considered sacred, and just like wood, this is constructed of both. It's wood, and which is obviously connected to the earth, and stone, which is also connected to the earth. But even in we know how the Roman Catholic Church likes to say they don't do magic, but we all know they do. Um, it was at one point required that the divine liturgy be performed on an altar of stone, and these huge altars would be of nothing but marble, with sacred relics within them, being like bone dust of saints and necklaces and stuff like that. You tell me that's not magic. Anyway, uh, and it's also very much connected. If you can't tell, I'm really into the Egyptian tradition. And the altar stone, to me, is connected with the mythology, the story, the creation story, with the Ben stone, the foundational stone upon which Egypt and the world was built, that Atum brought forth, the Ben, or that Amun brought forth, or Ptah. Um, depending on what region of Egypt you lived in and what period, is who brought forth the Ben, or what creation story you use, for that matter. But anyway, it has symbolism to me, so I listen to what the spirits and the divine and the holy daimon or the angel and whatnot whisper in my ear. So they say an altar stone's a good idea and it helps me connect with them. I'm gonna get an altar stone. So anyway, yes, but it's not necessary. That was my point. An altar cloth isn't even that necessary. But I recommend you do something to connect with whatever the nature of your working is. So that's the working altar. A lot of people like to have enough room to have a candle for each element, and this and that, and that all depends. And that's very, if you're going to have something that large with all your tools and all this in the center, it sometimes it's kind of hard. So a lot of times you will see the altar moved to the outer edge of your space or your magic circle. And in some cases, you're going to need to do that anyway if you're following grimoire instructions. So, note number 2 is it's good for your altar, your working altar at least, to be movable, to be portable. That's another thing that I like about this guy right here is it's small. I can move it around. It's not this big heavy thing. So you want something that, and another thing is, if you're doubling space, it's great. It is great to have a permanent fixture, but it is not always practical. And I'm sure you guys all know that some of the stuff we do is not always, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and if they walk in your house and they see, statues and this and that and blah, 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 and wands and daggers, and they're like, oh, I was afraid he was going to sacrifice me right then and there. He has all this creepy stuff in his house. Sometimes you're going to need to move stuff and put it away. I'm just saying, not everybody's understanding or intelligent enough to get it. But I digress. Anyway, so yeah, a working altar does not have to be this big elaborate thing, and again, you do not have to differentiate between a working altar and what I call devotional altars or shrines. So you very much could have, for example, your deity representations on this altar or whatever. I just find it easier to have a separate space to work upon, and then to have a whole other devotional space or religious space that can have offerings presented upon it. I can sense with incense. I can sprinkle with water. I can do this. I can move. I can put nice little decorations on. I can put a holy book if I'd like to. Just that's all for devotional altars, which is what I'll move on to now. And like I said, I'm not going to go too much into it, and I'm not going to go into details, but that's where I separate things. Now, if you can only have one, that's fine, but a devotional shrine, in my opinion, should be something that is not really moved, whereas the working altar can be. I think shrines, if you're going to invite a type of energy, or it's going to be an actual temple shrine, I think those are best made stationary and not moved. So like when we get to this big guy right here, this is my main what I call devotional altar now. Again, I won't go into the symbology, but you can see when setting up something like this, you want to make it beautiful, you want to make it your own. I'm sorry for shaky camera, guys. Let me see if I can just boom like that. Okay. There we go. Sorry, guys. Anyway, you wanna make it your own. You wanna have idol deity, and I'm not saying idols in the sense of we're worshiping a graven image or anything like that, but representations of your how you understand deity within your tradition, um, things of that nature, stuff that means stuff to you. Place for altars, a place for offerings. Again, a place for flame and candles. As you can see here on this altar, I have flowers to make it beautiful. I also have candles. Now, these tapers that are here, these are neat because they're actually flameless candles, but they really look like candles. They're actually made of wax, and I got a whole set of 6 of them all at once, and it was I found them really really cool because you will burn through a lot of candles, and if you're someone that does work every day, and you like to light candles like me, well, you can rack up a pretty big bill really quick. So a flameless candle in this sense is a good alternative. And they flicker and they look really amazing, just like real candles. So that is not to say that I'm for flameless temples. I'm not. I think that actual fire is necessary, important, and it should not be done away with. It does more than just light the area. So, again, I am not advocating that all your candles should be that. You're not going to get the same result from using a flameless tea light that you are if you're doing a ritual or a candle spell with actual candles made of wax. There's reasons for that. So, while that is very much display and beauty factor, I do recommend having actual flames. And as you can see, I have a thing for stick incense on there, but also those lotus flowers on top of those pillars, they have tea light candles in them. So there is actual flame. There's another oil lamp right there. I'm really big into oil lamp magic. It's riddled throughout the PGM. Lamps are just super cool. Something we'll get into another day. And let's dip down a little bit here, and you'll see another thing that's great is you want things to be practical. You want practicality. Storage space is great because you're going to accumulate a lot of stuff over the years of doing this, guys. If you're serious about it, you're going to need a lot of stuff. If you're wondering what that is hanging over, that's just it's an article. I had it on the center altar as well. It's called a maniple. It's part of the priest's vestments. I thought it looked really, really nice. I do use it for its actual purpose, by the way. But, yeah, just I'm sure somebody was going to ask, what the heck is that thing hanging over? So I'm just getting that out of the way. Anyway, on top, things that are decorative and offerings and, again, appropriate elemental attributions. Whether it be the east, west, north, south, depending on what area you have things in, are going to depend on what elemental things you place on that shrine. Like I said, I'm not going to go into all these, but I have shrines that surround this entire room. So we'd be here all day if I was going to go through the symbology. And as you can see, I do have one there. If you're wondering, that's not a cluttered mess over to the left. That is an altar that is veiled. Sorry, can't reveal that one on this video. You probably did see my little Saint Cyprian sticking out in the first part of the video, and that's okay. But just I had to veil that altar at this time. So again, that all goes into the whole thing of not doing, not making current workings public, or having a certain personal thing. So again, if you're going to showcase your altars on Facebook and say, look at my stuff and this and that, just exercise caution. But anyway. Back to practicality. Drawers are great. They're great for storing things. I have candles and stuff, and I'll go away really quick here to look in the cabinet so you can see just what I mean by storage space. Sometimes they're great for storing things. So I'll open this up, and then I'll kind of explain a little bit for that. So yeah, if you see here opening up cabinets for storage space, you can have things that are kept in here that you're going to use on the regular. I have a censer there. You can see I have some burses, holy water, altar bread, magical chalices. There's my sigillum, some pentacles. There's some wands in there. An aspergillium asperger, various glasses. Did I say the aspergillium? Yeah, or as I like to call it, the holy water rattle sprinkler thingy. It just, if you can find something that's practical where you can have storage space, you're ahead of the game. So I recommend that for sure. On top of that, and just in case you're wondering, and I don't want to toot my own horn on this, but I was thinking about, revamping, because you guys, if you've seen my temple in the past, you would know that this was not the setup. I did not have this before, if you've seen some of the older videos. And like I was telling you, this will change. Your stuff will change over time. But this setup, like, was I'd like to very synchronistic, we'll call it. I was thinking about, like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm running out of room. I don't know what to do. I want to do this, and I didn't know what to do. And a lot of times in your magical path, you'll be working on something. You'll have a call to prayer, and I don't mean to sound like one of those holy roller or televangelists, but the Lord will answer your needs. So literally, I'm talking about doing this, and I did my daily my daily practice, and I said a brief prayer on the matter as well. And literally the very next day, I was on my way home from meeting with a client, and voice crack, that was bad. Anyway, I was on my way home from meeting with a client, and I see a yard sale on the side of the road, and boom, I thought they were just using it to set stuff on, but they have this thing here, $10. So I got this whole setup, not the stuff on it, but and that's not to diminish the value of it, because it's in great shape. And obviously these people, I can guarantee you, they paid a heck of a lot more than that. But my whole point is not to gloat or anything, but to these forces, they're paying attention. And if you put your all into something, like things have a way of working out, and you just got to do the work. So and when you're bestowed with these gifts, because they are gifts, give back to the forces that that helped you get them, and do that through practice, and honoring divinity, or whatever it is that you work with. So that's just a little side note there. Again, you want something to be practical, something that you can store stuff in. It's great to have a place for incense, candles, all this type of stuff. You can see I have a Bible on there. But this is just an example of something that would be a more devotional type shrine, something that you could stand before or kneel before in prayer if need be, or put a scrying device. This would be the edge of the circle. I have something up there actually mounted on the wall to where I can mount a black mirror on the wall for that. Of course, you'd have to move a lot of things, but like I said, you're going to be moving things. this, Magick is a very motion-based practice. So get used to that. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on about that. Like I said, I won't go into too much detail. And we'll just do a quick zoom around. Oop, that could have been bad. Just a quick zoom around here. Of course, we're decorated for Halloween. Blessed auspicious Samhain. That's an inside joke. But, yeah. I hope everybody's enjoying the autumn season. You guys, of course, you see this in the background all the time. You see my Dark Goddess altar to honor the Dark Goddess of Hecate or Hecate. I also have an Artemis on there that pertains to my chart. And, a northern altar. And then, of course, if you haven't guessed it, I like kitty cats. So, of course, I have a little section there for my kitty cat and all things feline and Bastet or Sekhmet Bast or whatever name you choose to call her. So, let's see if I can get this to focus down where we were before. Yeah. All right. So, there you have it, guys. As you can see, this is very much a pretty much Western tradition, and I have more stuff that I either can't get into or it would just make the video way too long, as if it wasn't long enough already. I know, I talk a lot. I get it. I'm sorry. Can't help it. Anyway, I get excited, and then I talk. It happens. But I hope you got something out of it. At least got some ideas of, what you might want to do. We'll go into later with this implement series of, specific things that when you're building an altar for a ritualized purpose or for a season for that matter. And we'll go into holy seasons and various traditions and lots of exciting stuff that we're going to talk about that are all based upon or built upon this idea of an altar and a shrine. So we'll get into that another time because I've talked too much. Again, like I said, my stuff is a lot based on Western magic and Western traditions and European traditions and Egyptian tradition. I do have some things that are Eastern. I'm unable to share them, unfortunately. But if you guys want to see an example of an absolutely gorgeous Eastern, specifically a Taoist altar, check out Lord Josh Allen on Facebook. He has a YouTube channel as well, Lamont771, also Lord Josh Allen. He did a brief mention of me, so I'm going to get you right back there, buddy. So, again, I don't do it for nothing because, seriously, I found it fitting because I believe he calls it the Altar of the Seven Stars. It's a Taoist altar specifically for, he specializes in Taoist weather magic, and a lot of good information on that channel in regards to that topic and magic in general from an Eastern perspective. But again, it's not Eastern because it transcends all traditions, in my opinion. These are the same. We all work with the same, maybe not the same specific energies, but the same principles in a way as to how magic is applied. But yeah. Make sure you guys check him out. That altar is just absolutely gorgeous. He did a whole video about the altar, I believe. So, Lord Josh Allen, again, check that out. And I'm going to end with that. Yeah. So, I hope you guys got something out of this. I didn't mean to ramble on too long. But, again, I thank you very, very much for bearing with me, letting me ramble. And, as always, there are various goodies and links in the description box, so please look below. Shout out and thanks to all my patrons. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon patron and claiming your rewards today, please follow that link in the description box. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Got to get to 1,000 subs. We can get those contests rolling, and I can also, when I get to that, I can post some links up here in the box and not have to make you guys say click on the description, click on the description. So one of them good old YouTube rules. Anyway, so yeah, check out the links in the description. And of course, we have other ways to help out the channel, and the work and the message, and make it able for me to be the best teacher and creator that I can be. Things like the merch store. So if you want to show off that you're a proud common sense occultist and a spiritual warrior and awesome magoose, and you love magical kitty cats and all that good stuff, make sure you grab 1 or 10 shirts from the merch store, or a couple coffee mugs or something like that. Maybe a pillow. I don't know. Get a Halloween gift. I always said there should be Halloween gifts. Yeah, there should be Halloween gifts. And, if not, get it for solstice is coming up too, and Christmas and all that good stuff. So anyway, guys, I've talked long enough, so I'm going to shut up now. Thank you for sticking with me, and I hope you got something out of this. And if just, put your all into it. Strive your best. Do the work. And, it's the recipe for success. So again, thank you guys for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video. Life, wealth, and health.